reason for that is some of these logs that we're hauling out, as you can see, this is actually really tall, some of them even bigger than that. So the way it happened is, this ship is really well designed for the purpose. She's got a sloping bow, so the deck of the foredeck here gets right up to the log, so they don't have to jump across the water. So they can get right up to the log. They put the cable around the log, and then hook the cable through this big shackle, and then they go through these shackles up there. So what they're doing then is these big winches that you see behind you. That's what powers. That's what pulls them out of the water. They're really quite monstrous. they're steam powered by the same steam that powers the ship. The smallest one is about 12 tons. They use that mainly for hauling in the anchor. The middle one, for middle-sized logs, if you like, about 23 ton, and the biggest one about 35 tons. So it sounds like a lot, 35 tons, but when you think of these have been in the water for a long time and very waterlogged, so they could be almost like hauling a concrete column out of the water. Very, very hard. This is a very dangerous and skillful job. It may not look like much, but it takes so careful. There were two winchmen, had to keep an eye on each other for good reason. They had to be very, very careful, because if these things spin out of control, you're not watching, the log could come down on somebody's head, or the cables could fly around, and that wouldn't be good either. So he was standing behind here, the main winchman. That's his throttle. That increases the steam. The steam you see is going in. I'll show you the boiler in a minute. But he's standing here, and he's got his brakes. Very important to be watching those brakes. This is the final major brake if there's a serious. That just shuts it off. It grabs onto the cogwheel and shuts it right off. But he can use the brake actually like letting the cable on and off, so he can control the speed of the cable as well. But extremely dangerous, as you can see. That even the rope is dangerous. It's woven steel, so you could rip your hands apart if you weren't careful.
When was this out of commission?
1984.
Oh, okay.
So
1984.
Yeah, 1984.
1984.
George Orwell.
It's over 30 years ago.
Pardon me?
Over
Yes.
30 years.
Yeah. So it's been sitting in the water all that time.
We have seen some boats pulling like big loads of logs in rivers.
Mostly those are tugs.
Tugs, yeah.
Yeah, and those logs are log booms that are
log
cabled together.
Yes, yeah.
These tugs here.
Yeah.
That wasn't this boat's job. This boat was to take the bad logs out of the river. The most dangerous ones were the deadheads.
Oh.
Because you could only 90% were underwater, so you could only see the tip. Even if you were paying attention, sometimes if you weren't paying attention, that could rip you.
Wow, so to go to that.
Especially the old wooden ships.
Yeah.
Very, very dangerous.
And then where did they go, the logs?
They had cleared dumping grounds up and down the river.
Yeah.
They cleared the river from down the Stevenson all the way up to Mission. So it's quite a long trip up and down.
And when was this boardwalk put in?
Not till the late 70s, I believe. I'm positive. Because before that, this was completely industrial.
Right, you were saying.
Yeah.
Very nice. All right.
Very glad to have it because it's part of New Westminster's history.
Yeah.
If you folks would like to follow me, I'll give you a little tour of the insides of the boat.
All right.
We'll all go together if that's all right with you.
He was just explaining that.
So this is kind of the guts of the ship. This is where it all happens. That's when people come in. Come on in, folks. If you can fit. That's great. Wonderful. So this is a very, very powerful boiler. As you can see, it's huge. This goes through about 14,000 liters of water in an 8-hour day. So what you've got here is really a giant steam kettle. Underneath here you have really heavy duty oil. It's called bunker C. Well, it's like tar. So what you have to do is you light a fire in here. You close up this door, and it's like a bit of a jet that fires the oil into the boiler, and eventually into some fire tubes that are inside the boiler. They had a night burner because they needed to keep it going 24 hours a day, because it took so long to actually heat it up, to get it up to full steam, to actually boil the water. So when you boil water, what do you get when you boil water?
Steam.
Steam. So yeah, this was capable of producing somewhere between 150 pounds per square inch, or up to maybe 250. When you got to that high, you need to be letting some steam off, because that's too much and it could explode. And one of them did. That's another story. So this steam powered the steering as well. I see those big cables up there. That powers the steering to the big paddle wheel at the back, which you'll see when you go upstairs. Also, those big winches that you see. So that you can see the steam going out, that yellow pipe going out to the winches. That's what powers those winches, and that's what hauls the logs out of the water to keep the river clear. So let's go this way. Most importantly, these men were highly trained. They had to go through their apprenticeship. They were proper boilermen. They had, and mainly their training was to do with safety. It's very important to be safe with this, because this is very dangerous. If this got up too hot or too much pressure, this could blow. And way back in 1858, during our gold rush, the captains were in a big rush to get the miners up to Yale. One of them, captains, got a bit carried away and ordered his boilerman to keep on putting on steam, and the thing blew up.
Wow.
Not as big as this, but big enough to blow a hole in the ship, and it blew the boiler inland like a rocket, about a quarter of a mile inland. So they had to be so careful. If it got to a real panic situation, they could shut the steam right off. Or in the meantime, if it looked like it was getting too much, you could let some steam off by using this safety valve. This operates that safety valve, and there's a few more here. So just, as I say, you had to be paying attention a lot of the time. A lot of the gauges in there, those gentlemen would all have to be watching very carefully, so you didn't want to explode. As you're going past here, you can have a look at this diagram that shows how this all works. The oil is, the fire is lit here, and that oil injector on the door will fire the oil through here, through the firebox, into these copper fire tubes, and it goes around 3 times, just getting hotter and hotter, enough to when it reaches the steam point, and then the steam goes out this pipe here into the engine room, and the waste gases go out the funnel. As you can see, even here, you can actually see this would be waste gases coming out the funnel, and that's the ship actually operating.
Wow.
And there's one of the older ones. I mentioned to these good folks that this is the 5th in a series that started way back in 1884. Some of the earlier ones would have been wood or coal, but as you can see, this is more likely coal, because it's looking very dirty, very black and dirty. So the ship had about 15, somewhere between 12 and 15 crew. They didn't often stay overnight, but they did have bunks just in case they had to stay up at Mission at the end of the river. They had two of almost every skill. They had 2 boilermen. They had a captain and a first mate and 2 engineers. So a lot of doubling up. So come on through and have a look at our wonderful engine room. Much bigger ship than she looks at from the outside.
Yeah.
She's about 135 foot long, with including the paddle. So this is basically very simple technology. It's very like a steam locomotive. The steam comes through here, from the boiler that you saw, through this T-valve, and it's teed off to these two big cylinder engines. If you look at these cylinders, the cylinders are huge, and they're attached to what we call the pitman arms, those wooden arms, and they are attached to the paddle wheel at the back. So these are the pitman arms here. So basically what's happening is you're going like this. It's very like a steam engine. The gears, the main gearbox is down here, and this is operated by and powered by steam as well. So if you want to go forward, you just use, it's just forward and reverse and neutral, so not very complex, but that's how the engineer would move.
I guess it's not quite a neutral then.
Pardon me?
Just looking at the stop, it's not quite a neutral.
Oh no! Luckily, it's not operational.
Right.
The engineer down here, as you can imagine, couldn't see anything or didn't know where he was going. So very important for the captain upstairs in the wheelhouse, which we can't go up to today, but that was right up at the top. He would send a message down.
Huh.
Very simple technology. You've probably seen this in the movie The Titanic. Very simple way of getting the message. So now he's saying full ahead. So the engineer knows he's got to go ahead, and then he uses this throttle. Basically, what he's doing there is opening this big valve to put more steam to the pistons. And that's basically the mechanical function of the ship. I'm not an engineer, so I can't give you all the details, but that's the basics of how it ran. If you all like to go upstairs, there's lots to see upstairs on the second deck. You can see the big paddle wheel in the back, and there's a young lady up there who will answer your questions. Lots of pictures up there as well. There's some great pictures of the old paddle wheeling passenger ships, the ships that used to take the miners up to the gold fields up there. So yeah, right up the stairs.
Thanks.
Enjoy.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Texting me this much.
Someone earlier. Sort of old phone. Oh, different knots. Yeah.
That's a real skill set, isn't it?
Yeah. Nice breeze.
Best not to go up on more far, it's off, I think. This is really neat. shot of that paddle wheel. That's it.
Samson V is interesting because a lot of pieces of Samson IV and Samson III are incorporated. And it's one of the reasons why it became eventually the only steam-powered boat on the river was because it was part of these older boats. Yeah, and I really like the photos here that show what exactly it took to exactly pull the snags up. I think if you're not used to seeing them, it doesn't totally compute how big and heavy they are. But it was definitely a big job. And it's funny because one of the reasons, obviously, as well, we're saying it's the galley, which was well beloved by pretty much everyone on the boat. Mario the cook, there's a lot of stories about him making pancakes, and like he was a very talented chef apparently. And one of the reasons apparently that the Samson V was eventually decommissioned as an active boat was not just the technology moving on, but the cost of the food and the wages for such skilled labor was eventually considered not so cost effective. So at the very least, when it was working, it was a well-paid position. It's fine. So moving forward, we see the cook and steward's cabins, and this is pretty much all officers up here. There is a crew's nest, which is kind of pushed over to the side. It's kind of nice, but I mean, it's still pretty hierarchical on the boat. The head, and then there's a mannequin in here, which I point out because he continues to surprise me to this day. So the captain's cabin, and as well, there are multiple kind of cabin rooms in here if you're interested in taking a look. And it's pretty simplistic up here, but that was mostly because it might have been already explained that this would have been, overnight trips would have been pretty much relegated to trips to Pit Lake. Otherwise, it was pretty much on in the morning, off in the evening. Yeah. And that's pretty much the tour of the upstairs, but feel free to look around. There's tons of photos and little